Now we're going to spend some time in section 5. We'll do one assignment. This will be your last assignment for the week. It's called Stressing the Unusual because each story has something a little bit more unusual than what you're going to read about in the story. And that's going to be in your lead. Each time the unusual element is going to be in your lead. So we'll turn the page, and that's because that's going to help you. I wanted to show you where it started here. We're going to do a fairly short story, and that's going to be story number 5 right here. All right, now it does go over to the next page, so you want to make sure that you check that. But you want to read it. So I'm gonna brainstorm this with you, but I'm not going to tell you the unusual element the next time we do it. You're going to have to figure that one out, and that unusual element is going to go in your lead. And the reason I want to spend a little bit of time here is you always want to have your eyes open for those types of things that happen in stories, because it happens more often than not. A story's in the news because it's already unusual. It's already different. It's always not normal. You're not going to see a story about a guy who goes to work every day and does what he's supposed to do. You're going to see a story about a guy who goes to work every day, does what he's supposed to do, but this day he decides to steal the boss's car, right? Then it's going to be in the news because it's not what normally happens. And so anyway, here's a story about a home at 2481 Santana Avenue was burglarized between the hours of 1 and 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon. So now remember, we can't say yesterday, so whatever yesterday is for you, you're going to use that day of the week. And also let me show you something. You don't have between the hours of 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. That's a lot. You don't even need to say all of that. That's extra words. You can say between 1-4 and then p.m. You can do time like that. That makes it a lot easier. So let's look at our who. Our who is the homeowner, Dorothy R. Elam. She's a 6th grade teacher at Madison Elementary School. So, and nobody was home at the time, right? So the neighbors said they saw a truck parked in the driveway and thought it belonged to somebody doing repairs on the house, right? Now, burglars. Still, we don't know how many, but so you can do plural here. It actually makes it easier for you. They stole more than $8,000. And here's a list of the items here, right? So they stole a color TV, a VCR, you can say that, a sewing machine, a computer, 2 pistols, and some kitchen appliances. They stole a stamp collection valued at $1,000 and some clothes, silverware, and lawn tools. Now, here's the name of her husband. He died 2 days ago, right? So let's flip the page and see what we have here. The robbery occurred while she was attending his funeral at 2:30 p.m. That was about in the middle of the time where that happened. And it says he died of cancer. Right. So let's flip back. So, you might already have figured out what the unusual element is. What a bunch of jerks, right? These robbers. She's at her husband's funeral and they robbed her home. So that's your unusual element. It's a sad element, but it's unusual. So that needs to be in your lead. Now, do we delay ID or immediately ID her? Let's delay ID her. We can call her a Madison Elementary School teacher. We can call her an elementary school teacher. We can call her a Dillville widow, right? We don't have to say she was attending her late husband's funeral, because if somebody's having a funeral, well, you don't have to say they're late, right? So her deceased husband. That's obvious in that activity right there. Now, you can also start with her. You can start with the burglars if you want to. They're the one who caused the problem. So you have some options. Let's put her address in the lead so that we know exactly where it was. You may or may not do that where you work. You might just put the name of the street or maybe the general area. It really depends on the policy of your employer. But we're going to do that here just so we can practice writing an address. Another thing too is that when you have any kind of money amount, you want to put that in your lead, because that gives us an idea of the value of the items. So in the lead, though, you're not going to list all this stuff in your lead. You will list it in your story. I want you to do that. You can do that in multiple sentences. It doesn't have to be all the same paragraph. You can list them by category if you want to. You want to think about parallel structure when you list those. But when we have a money amount like this, that goes in your lead. So you can categorize it, maybe say burglars took, more than $8,000, and you can make some categories. You have some electronics, some household items, you have that stamp collection. You've got some different things here that you can make a few categories of and then be specific later on. So the lead's going to tell us who your who's are, your burglars and Dorothy, right? And then you're going to go on and you're going to have the money amount. And so you're going to have your when in the lead and your where. This is passive voice, so we're not going to start like that. In fact, don't think that you got to follow any order that you get these facts in. You have to set up the correct order when you write your story. Sometimes the most important pieces of info that you get from somebody are at the end of the information, if it's written down or somebody's telling you. So you're never going to go in that order. You're going to go from most important to least important, and you're the one who has to decide that. Now, let's just bring up one more problem that you might encounter. And that would be her husband. So if I'm going to use this name here, I probably wouldn't do it till the end of the story. And that's because you end up with two people with the same last name. And then your story is really about her. But you have to then begin to use first and last names each time. It gets really complicated because we don't know which Elam we're talking about, and AP Style wants us to use last names in a story like this. So you can put his name at the end, or you don't even have to use his name. Because in a story like this, her relationship to him is really the part of the story that's important. So you have a choice. If I were going to use his name, I wouldn't do it till the end, because then I don't have all the complication there with the names. But also you can choose to just say her husband died 2 days ago, and then that relationship is still there and your audience can identify with that. So go ahead and get started. I did you a favor today. I told you what the unusual element is, but I'm not going to do that on our next assignment.